Big focus for us going into tonight was to, play more possessions at a high level on both offense and defense, and I think we did that. I thought we executed for the most part really well, and some guys were able to get some rhythm, from our bench. We talked about developing our depth and how that's important. So, really, just all in all, thought our guys played really connected, both sides of the basketball. We did a good job in the second half, better job rebounding, which was something we talked about, better job moving the ball, which was something we talked about. So, again, this team continues to adjust or play well with adjustments coming out of the half. So, really, really happy with the things we did, and, now we got to have a good day tomorrow. Adam, go ahead.
Thanks. You played the second half without Christoph Tilley, and he was on your bench. What's his status?
Yeah, he's in big trouble. Yeah. No, he has a kind of a lower leg, just kind of a nagging thing. So we felt like, we wanted to rest him. It's just precautionary stuff. Don't anticipate it being anything long term. He practiced yesterday, and hey Gary, started without you, man. Sorry. But it was that's all it was. Yeah, he was not in trouble. He was just more precautionary. So
could have been in trouble.
Yeah.
John's 2-point decision making today. He was 6 for 6 inside the 3-point line.
It's 2 games in a row.
He's showing improvement there, and I know that he talked about that being an area that he had struggled in. He didn't think he was very good early in the season. What was working for him offensively that he made better decisions, was able to be much more effective from 2-point range?
I think the last 2 games, again, he's playing with a better pace when the ball's in his hands. And prior to that, I felt like he was a little sped up, and I think he's slowed down a little bit when the ball's hit his hands. And he's playing with some jabs and some fakes better to get some leverage downhill, and then he's changing his pace when he gets downhill, and it's allowed him, I think, to read the game at a high level. And obviously he's a gifted scorer, so we want him to be aggressive in those areas, but we want him to be on balance, and we want him to, him to manipulate the defense, not the defense, manipulate him. And I think he's done that really well with that the last 2 games.
Speaking of that, just trying to dictate to other teams what you do on offense. You want your defense to dictate what they do with their offense. How do you feel like through 6 games your team is doing with that of being in charge out there?
I think the last 2, coming out of the Notre Dame game that was in the App State game, felt like those 2 teams controlled the tempo too much, and we wanted to. We talk a lot about pace. Certainly, that's changing ends, but also the way we move in the half court. And the last 2 games, we've done a really good job with that. We've obviously been working on it. So we got back to doing what was, I think, a real strength for us offensively. That's helped us to where we're creating an advantage early in the possession, and this team's really good because of their basketball IQ, their connection and willingness to share it. They're really good at maintaining that advantage throughout a possession once we get it. So, but you got to move to get it, and we've done a better job with that the last 2 games.
Begin this next stretch Friday night. What are you hoping to see game to game to game as you go through this next stretch?
Yeah, we got to continue to show improvement in the amount of high-level possessions we're putting together on offense and defense. That's why it was so important for us to play the way we did the last 2 games, because we didn't do that enough, felt like, against Notre Dame. So our guys deserve a ton of credit because we've really pushed, the last, I guess maybe a week and a half or whatever it's been in practice to get back to doing what we do offensively and being able to be ultra connected and execute scouting reports better defensively. So give them credit. This team works really hard. This team prepares really well. And I think we're seeing the way we've played the last couple games is a byproduct of that. Now, listen, we're going on the road against an ACC team, so we know the challenges that presents. And so we have to continue, like, even from tonight to Friday, we got to have 2 really good days of preparation and continue to get better.
Yeah, going back to Tilly being out, gave Yvonne a chance to get some more minutes, and he finishes with 15 points, 7 of 7 shooting. What did you see from him on the offensive end of the floor?
Yeah, I thought he let the game come to him, and he, like kind of Junior, I don't mean to keep saying the same thing, but it applies to big guys at times too. Like, he didn't play sped up in the paint. Each time he finished, it was on his terms. He took his time and played big, and that's what he's got to continue to do. He's got to shore up some things on the defensive side. I thought he didn't communicate at a high enough level at times defensively, but it's great for him to get those reps because we need them. And I thought he stepped up. He stepped up in the second half in a big way, and it was great to see because he's been trending in a positive direction really since the middle of July. So to see it kind of the production be there for him, I was really happy for him.
John said that this team has a bad taste in its mouth from the way the Pitt game ended last year.
Good.
Do you buy into that sort of revenge element as you're preparing, as you're motivating for this game?
I think there's an element to that, especially for the guys who were here last year. But what we continue to talk about before games, it's about us, and it's about being able to have as many possessions as possible that are a high level and on our terms, both offensively and defensively. So obviously that was just really a big time, kind of wild at times down the stretch game. And we know they got significant time to prepare for us, and we know that we're going to get their absolute best shot going into their gym. And so we got to return the favor and give our absolute best shot. That's the biggest thing we're preparing for, is to execute on both sides of the ball and play our best ball yet come Friday.
He talked about Yvonne, but also Tayson and Matthew got some run tonight, more than they have gotten this year. How comfortable are you with those guys if there was later in the season an injury or a reason that those guys would need to step in for major minutes? How comfortable are you with those guys playing those roles if they ever need to?
Yeah, I think, we're in those moments we're coaching to our standard. We're not coaching the score, because those reps are really valuable for us. And for them, obviously, specifically. So, yes, we have confidence. That's why we got to continue to practice well, kind of 1 through 14, and we got to continue to play well when we get our opportunities. And it's what we're asking them to do, right? It's choppy minutes. So being able to get some rhythm to help simulate maybe what an opportunity that could present itself down the road is great. But those guys are really important, and they know that. We're coaching them just as hard as we're coaching Bruce Thornton and Devin Royal, because I've talked about it. We got to continue to develop our depth. We don't have a ton of experience coming off the bench, so we got to get that, and continue to develop that. And I think those guys did a good job tonight.
Andy kind of hit on it a little bit, but with John talking about the Pitt game last year, how much of the Pitt game is it like, well, this is a new group, this is a new team, this team didn't have that experience last year with Pitt, so we're not going off of that? And how much is it like, no, we remember that game, and we're going to use that for this game? Because certain questions with the old team, you've said, like, this is a new team, it's a new group, we're not really looking at that.
Yeah, we're not going to spend a lot of time, kind of, I guess, I don't think I need to manufacture motivation, I guess I would say, for this group. This group's highly motivated to continue to grow and play better each day we're out there. I'm glad that some guys that were here, have a little extra edge because of that. But, our focus is certainly on preparing as well as we possibly can to go get a road win. And those are really, really hard. And so some guys got some extra motivation, great, but I don't think this team needs it. And I think I can say that with confidence because of the way we've practiced and the way we continue to prepare and the way we continue to get better. That's important. We got to continue to grow this time of year because this is a great opportunity for us on Friday. But we got a ton of them after this, so we got to continue to grow and get better.
Coach, it was probably your most efficient night yet offensively. You had 1.6 points per possession. What do you think allowed your team to be so efficient tonight compared to some previous games?
I think our pace. I think the way we shared the ball in the second half, and give our guys credit. Like there was some high-level shot making out there. We took, and some of this was, I think, by design of their scheme, but there were some mid-range opportunities that our guys stepped up and made. And I think this team is really connected offensively. So our shot quality felt really good. We'll go back and evaluate that, but that's something that we're constantly monitoring. What's our quality of shot and taking care of the balls. But seemed like a lot of possessions. Go back and see how many it was, but felt like we did a great job taking care of the ball, and that helped too.
Yeah, so in the last game, you told us that getting the bench some early minutes was a big priority in that game. In this game, you leaned pretty heavily on the usual suspects for the first probably about 30 minutes, and then the score other guys in. Is it a fair conclusion to say that today was more of a tune-up for Pitt in terms of getting the usual suspects ready to go for a power conference game?
Yeah, I didn't view this as a tune-up. I think maybe there might have been one or two opportunities to get, maybe a sub there that we missed. But I think in general, there's a fine line and a balance of, growing as a team, and obviously those guys are really important. We got to continue to get better. We got to continue to get experience playing together. But we had no one reach 30 minutes, which is good. Again, probably could have got a couple guys, but we're also like Devin Royals getting experience in his position, and so there's a lot of moving parts there. And I think guys being able to play close to 10 minutes, 14 minutes, 15 minutes is good. But we didn't view this as a tune-up at all. Like we viewed this as coming into this game against a team that we have a ton of respect for, and they're dealing with a lot of injuries, and we're missing some guys, and we anticipated them coming in and really playing at a high level, and I think they missed some shots they probably normally make. I think we had something to do with that at times, but I think also they're a really high level shooting team. So our focus was on Mount St. Mary's. It wasn't on Pitt. Like we were focused on this game, all the way really until the very end. But this time of the year, developing our depth is important for the long term.
Heart monitors that look like sports bras that all your players wear. What kind of information, who on your staff gets that information, and what's the communication like between you and them, and then does that affect your in-game rotations live in real time?
Yeah, we could probably do a whole press conference on that. So I'm a big believer in the sports science, and we're blessed at Ohio State to have unbelievable resources. So we kind of have a whole performance team that we work with. They meet once a week, and it involves our strength and conditioning coach, our trainer. We have sports psych in that meeting. We have sports science in that meeting. Like there's a lot of people in there, and what we're evaluating, because again, I don't understand at all the data that comes with that, but what we do monitor closely is player load, and really over stretches of time, and it helps me plan out practice. And we have some goals, and when we go into practice, that we're trying to meet. Sometimes to build conditioning, sometimes to, save some for the next day. So, again, utilizing the team that we have here, because our resources are incredible. I've learned a lot, and I think the days of like just coach's instinct and that being the only tool you have to evaluate kind of your team's conditioning and how much you need to do on a given day, I think those days are over. There's certainly an element of that. And there's some days where we've had to, stay out there to accomplish what we needed to accomplish. But in general, like I'm getting live information during practice of kind of where our average player load is per player, and where some high minute guys may be at. So appreciate the question. I could talk about that a lot, but without going into all the detail, yes, it's valuable for us, and we utilize that. We lean into that stuff in our program.
Two-part question, Coach. Seems like Bynum's improving each game, and as much as Chapman's been through, aren't you glad to see him come through with a game like that?
Yeah, really excited to see the ball go through the hoop for him, and he's a gifted scorer. I think as he continues to get more run and get confidence, his ability to provide an offensive spark off the bench it's there. What we're looking for is, kind of the consistency in practice and some of the other areas that, I forget he hasn't had really like a freshman season, and I got to remind myself of that at times. But he's working through some of that, and we're seeing some small improvements. We've seen some improvements from Matthew in the same light. So those guys, as those guys continue to get better, it makes our team better. And to see him, go 3 for 4 from 3 was a great sign.
You went to your bench early, but we didn't see Colin until around the 12-minute mark in the second half. Was that just a byproduct of the flow of the game, or kind of what went into that decision?
Yeah, I think it wasn't. There's nothing to, I guess, look into there. Like Colin, his story's been well covered with what he's overcome, and how he just continues to bring toughness and just care for our program. So it really wasn't anything he did. I felt like Matthew has practiced at a really high level going into last game and this game. And Colin, we've monitored kind of his load in practice at times, and Matthew's practice with a consistency that we felt like we wanted to reward that. And so I think it maybe caused Colin to miss a rotation, but it wasn't anything that he's done. I trust him, just as much as anybody on our team, because he cares so much and works so hard. So that was big thing, was kind of rewarding the jump that I think Matthew's made in the last week and a half.
Jake, you talked about building depth a couple times in this press conference. How, like, when Tilly's out in the second half, obviously you get Avant playing time, but there's also stretches where you had Brandon and Amari on the court. How much is it also just learning and feeling and seeing different combinations on the court?
Yeah, I think, having the versatility and Brandon's experience of kind of playing on the interior, having that versatility to maybe put someone out there with that mobility is important. Certainly I think it's hard to play that size, right, for significant stretches in Big Ten play. But when you look at maybe having him, Amari, and Devin together, it makes you bigger than maybe what you lack in the center position. And offensively, he's able to initiate some stuff at a really high level. So we don't get a ton of time to practice with him at that position. So getting some reps in game was really good. But it's good to kind of have that in our back pocket to sprinkle in at times and use if we need to in the future. I called on him first, but you can give him one more. That's fine.
I know you view each one of these games as equally important. You don't look to the next one, but when you close this stretch here, 5 of your first 6 against mid-major teams, and now you're going to take a step up in the level of competition you're going to face, how curious are you to see, like, what is real and what's not, and, like, how confident are you that some of these numbers you guys have put up against this level of competition will translate when you now do play teams that, at least on paper, are rated a lot higher and should provide more competition?
Yeah, we talk all the time about playing to the standard, and that's what our focus is each time out. I think we've gotten better with that as the non-conference season has progressed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that anybody would anticipate us having a, what'd you say it was, a 1 point what? 1.6. Yeah, that's like right, but I think for us, what is our execution like on offense and defense? That's where that stuff becomes even more important. Our attention to detail on the scouting report becomes even more important. Being able to play at the pace we want to play at, even in the half court. Maybe we don't have as many opportunities in transition, but even in the half court becomes so much more important. So that's what we're coaching to is that standard of how we want to play. We had guys diving on the floor tonight. We had guys doing a great job rebounding. Like that's how you get ready, for the stretch we have. And I think the big thing is we got to live in the moment. We can't look too far ahead. Like, we got to focus on having a good day tomorrow. And we got to figure out how, after we have a good day tomorrow, to have a good day, on Thanksgiving. So, and then we got to have a obviously great day on Friday. And it's tough. Like, I know our last year, we had maybe some we didn't have this level of gap in some of our non-conference high major games, but we're still playing the same number of, high major non-conference games. And so, and then you got obviously the Big Ten games sprinkled in there. And, we start 4 of our first 6 Big Ten games on the road. So this is a big opportunity for us on Friday, because but we can't look past, this is what we signed up for. When you play in this conference, you're going to have, pretty soon we're going to have 19 games in a row that are really hard. So whatever it is, 5, 4, 6, whatever we got coming up, it shows you how much I'm looking ahead. I like whatever it is, we got to get ready for the next one. And it's almost like a football mentality, kind of 1-0, mentality. And that's what we got to do. And speaking of football, let's go beat the team up north on Saturday.
You have a score prediction?
Buckeyes win, man. That's Buckeyes win. Buckeyes win. That's my prediction. So, anything else you guys need? Have a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys have a good week. So.